AoE
By the
CC
way,
turns out good late.
One thing we need to talk about here, because this is now like a disturbing trend, is this is twice now Rogue has done this. When they come in looking awesome from the regular season, they come in, remember, as one of the top fucking seeds, and they're blowing these seeds every time, guys. Like, those seeds in theory put you like into the winners final if you're just like a competent team, because you're getting the team that's like a third or fourth best seed. So they've blown it twice now, and it's the same scenario each time. These motherfuckers are front runners, and they have one way of playing League of Legends every split. And if anyone figures that out, they have no response.
Well,
like, what's mad is if people don't know this, right? There's a very like subtle point that a lot of people will miss from like a sport. Like, obvious examples would be like UFC or NBA, right? If you ever see someone who has like a famously amazing move, so in basketball it could be a specific shot, in MMA it could be a certain punch or something. You can't get by just on that, because obviously the competent coaches immediately tunnel in on that. They're like, right, here's the counters to what you do to that. So every great player has to have a second counter, which is the counter to whatever they throw at your original move. And if you're a really great player, by the way, like Michael Jordan, eventually your counter just becomes your main move, because everyone does that against you. And if you have like a second counter, there basically is no way to play you. Rogue just has one way of playing, and if you figure it out, they're just like, oh well, you win, I guess. See ya.
But here's the thing, Thorin. In best of ones, being very good at one thing when a team has to prepare for 2 to 3 opponents every week, depending on whether it's a super week or not, is very effective at winning regular season games. When you have a couple of weeks to come in and analyze Rogue style and come in with this Volibear pick that is very disruptive to them, come in, with this like TF build that's really unique, you can get that read and actually prepare for one specific opponent. And I think that's the downfall of having multiple opponents that you're facing every week in best of ones, is you're testing for something else, right? If you are a team preparing for the regular season, it's great to be Rogue. Oh, we're very solid in our own style. We're playing our way. We can execute this very consistently. It's good in the meta, right? But when it comes to an actual preparation for a 5-game series, you can just toss all of that out, because if somebody like Mad Lions comes in with all these like really smart counter picks or like ways to disrupt your style, this is what happens, right? So I think it's a flaw in the system, frankly. You're testing for 2 different things. Do you feel this way as a player in the LEC, Crownshot?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also one quick point I'd like to mention is that they played online best of ones, and then it's Trimby's rookie split, and then he played on stage.
True.
And I think Kaiser actually like outperformed him. I think Trimby is a good player, but I think Kaiser
Kaiser
better than him.
Play way
better. Yeah. So like I think that's also a big part. But I completely agree. I think in a perfect world or whatever, you would have best of threes in regular season for sure, because like probably the most fun part of competitive league is evolving your draft and your responses and your testing your champion pool to the limit, right? Like, so let's say let's use the example of Shark against G2. So first game, I think they trade Xayah Kai'Sa. Okay, it doesn't work. Second game, they do something similar, it doesn't work again. Then third game, okay, they're like, okay, like screw this, right? Let's just go Jinx. Okay, they go Jinx, it goes well. Then G2 bans it. Then they go the Vayne into Kai'Sa. Then they show another response. And then fifth game, they go Jinx, like another pick, right? And it's similar in this series where they ended up playing the Jinx as a response, and it did well. So then it got banned first 3, right? So one of the responses you prepared was so strong that the enemy actually had to ban it in first 3. And then you get tested even more. And then they played the Vayne into Kai'Sa as well. It's actually very similar, both same champions in both series. But it really tests your depth, like champion pool depth as a player, like best of ones don't, because in best of ones teams will just draft for comfort. If you actually watch most of the best of ones that were played, it was literally Kai'Sa blind every game into Xayah, Kai'Sa Xayah, Kai'Sa Xayah, or Kai'Sa Tristana every game. But here it actually evolves because people are like, okay, like screw this, right? Like we have to surprise them somehow. We have to use something that's non-conventional or that we didn't play before on stage, because obviously like they practice this in scrims, right? But I think this is the most beautiful part about competitive league, is evolving over like a best of 5 or like a very deep playoff series or like worlds where the patch is constantly the same and the game evolves like inside the same patch, right? I don't know, let's say Jinx is broken for 2 weeks, and then people are like, okay, but of course it's strong, right? But there has to be responses to this, and then they actually find them. It was similar last split in summer, where because the patch was the same for a long time, and people like they just started playing like Twitch Rakan, right, as a blind at Worlds. And then people were like, okay, like everybody's picking this. What is good into this? And then you just have like a LPL team just locking in Draven and trading sides level 1 and completely destroying the Twitch, right? And then people are like, oh, actually we can't blind it. So I think this is very nice. A big problem of LEC is also like the patch hits in a week, but it doesn't change for LEC because it hits on Wednesdays, right? And it's like a 1 week delay until it changes. So you're kind of playing solo queue on a different patch, but Scream's on a patch before. So I think people are a bit like they don't have time to innovate, right? They rather just play comfort, which they know works. And obviously, as you said, you have to prepare for like 2 to 3 different opponents. And obviously, when you need to do that, it's always easier to just stick to what you know, right? To what you know works. So I think for sure it's a big part, like the best of 5 against best of 1 narrative, and offline against online. By the way, I think again people don't realize. Sorry, just quick point. I think fans do not realize how big the difference is between playing offline and online. It's absolutely like massive. It's like screaming at your home or like gaming house with your own setup, and then playing on stage where it's colder, the monitor is different, it's completely different. And then playing with a stadium full of fans is a step above that as well. So it's a huge difference.
I mean, I've shared my experiences in the past, even when I've done like show matches for League of Legends or Overwatch League or whatever in a studio with fans. Like, so for example, for me, I've never been nervous casting or doing anything ever, even in front of stadiums full of people, because it's a comfort zone that I've developed my entire life since I was a child being on stage. But when I had to like sit and play in front of people, like I froze up a lot of the time. And like, usually I'm very communicative, like shot calling or providing information. And like, my brain just shuts down in that situation. So I know I've had those experiences myself. And I think it just takes a long time to get used to them, especially,
yeah.
You know, for some
people. I didn't know you were related to
sure.
Promiscu. I've heard when Promiscu touches like the seat at LEC, it's like if you play that sequence from Limitless where he takes the pill but in reverse, it's like he just all his brain functions just shut down. He's, you know, he can't really think properly. He's not a genius anymore. Like nothing works. Because actually, I'll tie this into what we were talking about. This is why a lot of people were telling me like early in the split, like, why did you make that tweet about how you wish they'd kept Vander instead of Trimby? It's because like, mate, what's the upside? Like maybe the Trimby guy, he seemed to have decent mechanics. Maybe his mechanics are better, right? That wasn't what Vander was winning or losing you the game with when you had him in the team. The point is, when you get to a scenario like this, the other thing that sucks about Rogue, is why I say they're front runners, is because, mate, when they do get figured out and they're down in a game, they're just fucking gonna lose. Like, you don't worry about this team like being super dangerous or, oh my god, they're gonna fight back. They have no mental strength whatsoever. They're so fucking brittle. The second they start to crack, they just crumble entirely. So to me, the more veterans you can have in that equation, the more chance you have of potentially coming back usually.
Even in game 4, when Hansama had the huge lead on Aphelios, it still felt like they weren't playing confidently. It felt weird watching them play and watching them play the map.
Look how good their players are, dude. If I was their coach, I mean, like, have you actually looked at our team? Like, we have one of the best teams in the entire league, every position almost. Like, why wouldn't you be confident with those players?
Yeah, it seems like
this guy was in fucking Turkish league. Smash his head in. He is. Oh, no, I'm there. That guy is trash. You were playing against Smeb, motherfucker. This guy's from Turkish league. Trash this motherfucker. See?
I think also there's a trap that that teams run into, because this is the second year in a row where we keep talking about Rogue's regular season performance, and part of being a great playoff team, and I think that this applies to traditional sports that have extended playoffs like NBA or NHL, right, where you're playing a best of 7 series, because it's very similar, like League of Legends to the sport. You go from best of 1, multiple opponents in a week, to like, or baseball, like, here's just 7 games against the same opponent. And the thing about regular season is that smart teams know that the only thing that matters is getting to the playoffs, not winning every game in the regular season. And so sometimes you just have to take a week, if you're a professional team in these structures, and say, hey, we may not have the best performance this week, but we have to test new styles. We have to get comfortable playing a different way of this game. We have to, do something weird that's going to make our opponents potentially like psych themselves out when they're preparing for us in the playoffs. And I never feel that Rogue actually does that. I feel like they put a premium on winning their best of one regular season games. And that, I'm not going to say they haven't diversified, because they have a little bit. Like Game 4 is obviously like not a traditional Rogue style. They have played other looks this season, but it never feels like they're actually comfortable in those other looks. Right. And at the end of the day, if they're not winning with the control mages, then they're just not going to win at all. Right. So I don't know. I think that perhaps it's a philosophical issue about how this team should perform, and that they're not being maybe experimental enough in the regular season. And people will meme on G2 for winning or for losing random ass games, but G2 is always like, they're the mad scientists, just always experimenting with stuff. And it really does benefit them by the time playoffs roll around.
And they always win when it matters as well. There's the other thing. Like they don't let it go too far, do they? They know when to sort of reel it in.
Maybe also, I mean, I have like a question, maybe like, so do you think if Rogue end up still winning the best of 5 they need to play now, and then winning the next one and going to play finals, do you think they're like, or like, let's say they are third, do you think that's acceptable for their regular season performance, or would you
no way, like
more?
mate, listen, I could forgive it in summer because it was still online and, it was the first split they got like super good. You've never tasted it before. This is the second split in a row. And if you look at the regular split, they were supposed to be the team that maybe could even beat G2. They were the only one you could kind of like hope they were. So the idea they're not going to come at least top 2, like that has to be a failure in my opinion. Yeah. I don't give a fuck how inexperienced some of the players are. Like that. This is the LEC now. Like, look, it's not like Mad Lions is full of veterans. They also have a bunch of rookies. So to me, yeah, I know everyone's going to say like, but what about Fnatic and stuff like that? Mate, this is the split just like last split. You're supposed to place ahead of Fnatic if you're Rogue. Like, it's your time,
To be fair, I guess placing high in regular season actually gives like huge playoff advantages, right? Because
for sure.
If you're a second seed, you keep you watch like they skip ahead one series now, even though they lost. I guess that's a big advantage. I mean, for sure. I would say a big part is just the difference in best of 5, best of ones. Because in best of ones, the most consistent team that has like the most polished style wins. But then when a team has literally 2 weeks to prepare for you, they will find counters to your style. I mean, like that's the whole point of league, right? Nothing is like unbeatable, no champion. I mean, very rarely, or no style. Like everything has counters. So when teams have a long time to prepare for you, they will for sure. So then your depth gets tested much more, and you're like maybe like mental for it and stuff. Where like as I said, like even the G2 against Schalke game, G2 was the only one constantly like clawing back, right? Like I really thought the Vayne Kai'Sa game was completely over, and then they should have. They were actually about to win it, and it was like 0-6. I really thought it was very hard for them to win, but they clawed back, and it was the same in the Mad Lions Rogue one. Mad Lions was the one constantly like fighting back in the 4th game, right? Like looking for flanks, looking for this, and constantly trying to get back into the game. I think it was also in a different game where Rogue was like defending mid and Azir was pushing top, and then they just collapsed on mid lane with a Volibear ult, I think, and they dove as well. So like I felt like Mad Lions was maybe a bit more proactive, because even in the first game, they were the ones doing the proactive plays. I think they just misplayed them. Like mis-executed, but they were still like going for a lot of fights and always kind of doing the first move maybe. So it benefited them for sure.